The Blue Ridge Middle School Math Department would like to welcome our rising sixth grade students. Our sixth grade math team consists of Mrs. McFarland, Mrs. McDole, Mrs. Taylor, and Mrs. Ferry. In grade 6, students have two choices for their math course, Math 6 or Foundations of Algebra. If students take Math 6 in grade 6, their course progression would be Foundations of Algebra in grade 7 and Pre-Algebra in 8th grade. Math 6 students will fulfill their Algebra 1 requirement in high school. If students choose Foundations of Algebra in grade 6, their course progression would be Pre-Algebra in 7th grade and Algebra 1 in 8th grade, which is a high school credit. There are two considerations when making a recommendation for Math 6 versus Foundations of Algebra. One, student data, and the other, student goals and desires to accelerate. When students are motivated to accelerate in mathematics themselves, it is proven that they will be more successful. It's important to determine if they have a desire to accelerate. It is also important to consider their goals for high school and if they want to take advanced mathematics courses such as AP Calculus or multivariable calculus. So you may ask yourself, why would a student take Foundations of Algebra versus Math 6? If the student has a desire to enroll in a magnet school such as AET, AOS, or TJ, those schools currently require students to enroll in Algebra 1 by 8th grade in order to apply. Therefore, they need to be enrolled in Foundations of Algebra in 6th grade and Pre-Algebra in 7th grade. Students in both Math 6 and Foundations of Algebra will be exposed to engaging lessons that place emphasis on the Virginia Department of Education process goals. Lessons will be centered around students becoming mathematical problem solvers, communicating mathematically, reasoning mathematically, making mathematical connections, and using mathematical representations to model and interpret practical situations. Let's take a look at a few sample items from both courses. In Math 6, students will simplify numerical expressions with positive and negative integers, whereas in Foundations of Algebra, students will be evaluating algebraic expressions where they substitute in a number value for the variable. In Math 6, students will work with the coordinate grid and proportional relationships. In Foundations of Algebra, students will also work with the coordinate grid and proportional relationships, and in addition to that, slope. In Math 6, students will represent one-step equations and solve one-step equations, whereas in Foundations of Algebra, students will be solving multi-step equations. Our last example is looking at inequalities. In Math 6, students will solve and graph solutions to one-step inequalities, whereas in Foundations of Algebra, students will solve and graph multi-step inequalities. Those were just a few examples of standards taught in Math 6 and Foundations of Algebra. You can look more at the Math 6 and Foundations of Algebra standards in curriculum by using the bit.ly on the screen. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our presentation. We are looking forward to welcoming our rising sixth grade students next school year.